Joe Biden is a master tactician, and he just outplayed MAGA House about judges, and he put a lid on his win. And he cemented his victory of appointing more federal judges than Donald Trump because he's not allowing the House MAGA to steal an additional 20 or 30 new federal judgeships and just hand it over to Donald Trump. How do I know that? Because Joe Biden just vetoed the bill coming up from MAGA that would have created 65 new federal judgeships and allowed Donald Trump to go first when that first tranche of judges should have been Joe Biden's. I'm Michael Popok. I explain it all on Legal AF. Now more than ever, we need your help on independent media like this one in collaboration with the Midas Touch Network. Hit the blue subscribe button. It really helps. We don't have any outside investors. Let's get going. Great strategist. Joe Biden can walk and chew gum and do lots of things at the exact same time in order to cement his legacy. And this one on judges may seem at first blush to be a little bit confusing. I thought Joe Biden was in favor of more judges. He is. I thought that the bill Popok called the Judges Act, creating 65 new federal vacancies, federal judges to fill, creating 65 new federal judgeships was bipartisan. It was. I thought it passed in the Senate. It did. Then why isn't it a law? And why did Joe Biden pardon it? That's why you're here on this hot take. And I love interrogating myself. Here's what happened. It went from bipartisan to partisan because the MAGA House delayed taking it up for approval until after the election. They wanted to see who would win the election. Rather than approving it in August when Joe Biden wanted it and the Senate had already approved it, they waited until after November. And Joe Biden said, wait a minute, I agreed to it. I was going to support it. I wasn't going to veto it when it was fair, when I was going to get 20 or 30, let's say 20, 25, the next guy, same thing. Because he's going to be split, a third for the 65. But you guys took that away from me because you waited to see what the election would result in, or if I would win or lose. And since I lost, or the Democrats lost, now you want to pass the Judges Act. So it's no longer bipartisan because how important could those additional judges have been to relieve congestion on the dockets of the federal courts when you waited an additional 5 or 6 months to see who would win the election? So if you had that much time, they must not be that important. Plus, you're playing politics with something that was bipartisan, converting something that was good into something that's dirty. And I'm going to stop it. There goes my pardon power. So what happens next? Here's a little pardon power lesson. The judge, you can tell I'm a lawyer. The president has the right to veto a bill that's that's been passed by the House and the Senate, and to deny it from becoming a law. Bill only becomes a law if the president doesn't veto it and signs it into law. There's my little schoolhouse rock for you. So here, by vetoing it, the only way to override the veto, let's say now or in the next Congress, if it was proposed by Donald Trump, would be to get a 2/3 majority, 2/3 to override a veto. That's why the veto power is so important. And what does 2/3 mean in terms of the math? That means 290 House members, representatives, would have to vote to override Joe Biden's veto. 290 out of 435. Where the total amount the Republicans have is about 214. And out of the Senate, they need 67 out of 100. I mean, I know the majority for the Republicans is high, but they don't have 67 votes, and they're not going to get an additional 11 or 12 votes from Democrats to join their side. And in the House, they're not going to get an additional 75 or more Democrats to break ranks and go join Republicans to override Joe Biden when the Democrats support Joe Biden. Meaning, long-winded way of saying dead on arrival, it's done. The Judges Act is over. The Republicans, if they really thought they needed more judges and they wanted to give some to Trump but not all to Trump, they should have voted for it before the election the way they were asked to. Letting it float above it all, float above the dirt of Washington as a bipartisan measure. But no, they dragged it into the mud, made it partisan. Joe Biden caught it and vetoed it. Done. So there is other ways that they can, in MAGA House and MAGA Senate, give Donald Trump more federal judges. They did it in the Reagan era. They gave Ronald Reagan up to 300 or more federal judges. Additional federal judges. Could it happen in the 4-year period of time, which is kind of short in this world? I know it sounds interminable for us now, but it's short in the long grand scheme of legislation. Could they get another 100 judges approved, 200 judges approved for Donald Trump? It's going to be a stretch. And now Joe Biden has just grabbed one leg and one arm for Donald Trump, tied it behind his back and cinched it and said, you're not getting these 30. You're not getting these 60. Because if Donald Trump was in, he'd try to use all 65 because he's a pig. There's no other way to put it. But Joe Biden is smart. Aren't we glad that, let me just say one thing. Shout out to Joe Biden here, who was interviewed on the Midas Touch Network by one of my best friends, Ben Meiselas. Isn't it great watching a great lame duck president? Joe Biden may go down in history, I'm going to do a hot take on this, as one of the greatest lame duck presidents we've ever had. You know how Jimmy Carter has gone down in history as being one of the best ex-presidents we ever had? His presidency was a little bit of a mixed bag, if you know what I mean. But the ex-presidency, he's been very good at X. And here Joe Biden is very good at being lame duck. Very good. Hundreds of billions of dollars he's gotten out the door, including aid to Ukraine, including infrastructure bill, including chip manufacturing, right? Including clean energy and clean water, all done in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Get out the door, sign the contracts. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of judges that look like America, putting the lid on this. Yeah? Other executive orders and things that he's done, pulling back legislation that isn't finished so Donald Trump can't complete it and make it bad. This is what you do when you know what you're doing, when you've been in the Senate for more than 40 years, like Joe Biden. So again, Mount Rushmore of lame duck presidents, I know it might be a minor mountain, but I think Joe Biden deserves our tip of the hat for all that he's doing now to try to Trump-proof his legacy and to protect the American people. We'll continue to follow it right here through the holidays on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Look, you want to do a gift to each other? Have this channel do better. In terms of subscribers, we're doing great. 370,000, 2.5 months. I mean, it's beyond my wildest dreams. Although my wildest dreams is 500,000 and then 1 million. You can help me get there. It's not ego. It's algorithm. The bigger we are, the more contributors we have, the more videos we have, the more of a community we have. Join now. This is like the ground floor, like the first 370,000 for the Midas Touch Network. You're there now for me on Legal AF. And I appreciate you. Now we need independent journalism, not owned by corporate America, who will sacrifice the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press on the altar of their corporate greed, period. Hit the blue subscribe button, leave comment, and come on back for more Popok Live Tuesday nights on the Midas Touch Network, along with Legal AF, the YouTube channel and podcast, wherever you pick that up. Until my next Legal AF contribution, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.